name's John Cousins, and I'm a member of Glastonbury Town Council. And I'm here today. I've been told I'm here today to speak for World Heritage Status. I'd much rather speak about World Heritage Status, and I'd much rather listen to what you have to say about World Heritage Status rather than what I have to say about it. But as an opening part of this, Glastonbury Town Council put forward a motion to explore World Heritage Status and what it could mean for the town. And I am quite conscious that there are 4 gentlemen here, and we're rather underrepresented by the female partners. So I am going to ask the person who put forward the motion with me to come and just do a little introduction about why we did that, and that's Serena Roman. So I'm going to defer to her if that's okay. Serena is also a councillor on Glastonbury Town Council. Serena.
Excuse me turning up in my gardening clothes, but those who know me, I've lived here, I've been around Glastonbury for 50 years, I've lived here for 44. And one of the first places I helped to protect was Bride's Mound. And we are in the process of creating a nature reserve there. And part of the nature reserve is going to be a wildflower meadow. And I have to leave here by 10:30 to go down there because we're going to be sowing yellow rattle seed to start the wildflower meadow. So those of you who know me know that I am passionate about protecting the land. And in fact, Bride's Mound was the first place that we managed to protect because it was going to be developed into a lorry park. And we presented to Mendip District Council local plan, and the inspector agreed with us that it was such a precious sacred site that it should be outside the development limit and not be turned into a lorry park. And now we're creating a nature reserve. So I count that as my first success in protecting this sacred island that I love so passionately. I love it with all of my heart and all of my soul and all of my being, and my whole aim with everything I do is to protect this beautiful, beautiful place. The second place that I helped to protect was Bushy Combe. Now already there had been a development there in Dog Lane, building houses, and then Bushy Combe Gardens building houses right down into the Combe. But we've managed to create a land trust there to protect that land from further development. And those of you who are new here, you won't realise how much housing development there's been. So when I first came here, we didn't have the Redland or Actors Estate. Where Morrison's was the Fairfield. And all those houses between Morrison's and the bypass, that was Wiriel Park. Where Proper Job is, that was an orchard. And all of where the surgery is, and all the houses that then go Sedgemoor Way and all the way to the bypass, that was fields. Since the bypass has been built, we've now got huge amounts of development of housing going even over the other side of the bypass, outside the development limit, as has happened with Kingsfield. And now it's creeping St Dunstan's Park, Watts Corner, it's creeping through to the east end of Glastonbury, round the corner of St Edmunds Hill, and into the area of Highland that is the Tor. And there is the hospital, then up in Stock Farm, and on Tuesday, this week Tuesday, there was another planning application being heard by Somerset Council to build more houses on the other side of the Wells Road, outside the development boundary. 24 houses they wanted to build at Pear Tree Farm. I want to stop the housing development going around the Tor. If we have to build houses on stilts out on the moors, okay, we have to do that. But I really want to protect our sacred island. I really want to protect the Tor. And this is the reason that I and John put forward the motion to the council to explore the possibility of a World Heritage Site. And this is part of our exploration. This is where we're at in why we had the consultation and why we're having the debates, because we need to explore whether it's going to be the best thing to protect the land or whether there are other ways to protect the land that have as much clout. The thing with World Heritage Status is it has a lot of clout. It would help to protect the land around the Tor from this creeping, I think see it as a cancerous growth of housing development that is happening. People down Ashwell Lane, again and again, fields down there they're applying. And thinking of Ashwell Lane, the other big problem we have is that of the A361 being an HGV route. We're trying to get it de-designated so we don't have those hundreds of huge lorries going down our residential streets, coursing back Chilkwell Street, Beer Lane, Street Road, hundreds of them every day. We want to de-designate it, but when we've tried to do that before, they've said they will build a bypass around the Tor. And with that bypass will come 1,000 houses, because that is part of building a bypass. When I mentioned our thing to de-designate the A361 to Sarah Dyke, who is our MP, last month, once again, she looked to Councillor Liz Lachlan, Deputy Chair of Somerset Council, who said, well, we offered them a bypass. I don't want a bypass around the Tor. I don't want all that traffic going around the Tor. I don't want all the development that would happen if we had the bypass around the Tor. I'm frightened for our sacred land. And so I am speaking to you today. Please hear me. A World Heritage Site, I've looked at it for 40 years. We had our initial bid in 2006 when Somerset County put forward for World Heritage status. We're trying again. If we can get it, we will protect the land, and that's what I want you to think of. It will protect the land. John, thank you very much. I've only left you 5 minutes. I'm awfully sorry. Thank you for hearing me.
So I'm a relative newcomer to town, although Glastonbury's been part of my world for the whole of my life. It's part of a triangle of places that are really sacred to me. Avebury, Stonehenge and Glastonbury were integral to my youth. And when I was younger, I used to live in a little ambulance and drive around between them with the police stopping me every 5 minutes. Anyway, when I became a councillor in 2011, one of the things that really shocked me was the amount of development that was coming forward, and I couldn't work out. We have what we call a development boundary, and you're not supposed to be able to build outside the development boundary. Every one of these applications would come in. I would stand up and in my naivety say, we've already got too many houses in Glastonbury, and why are we building more? It's floodplain, it's not suitable, this is sacred land. And they would say, housing need. And then they would talk about this new act that had come in by a chap called Eric Pickle, some of you might remember him, that said, if you haven't identified enough land to build enough houses that the government tell you need within your community, then the developers can develop wherever the bloody hell they like. That really shocked me. And so I thought, right, we need to identify land to develop, but we need to identify land that probably couldn't be developed because the people who own it don't want to develop on it. But if you've got the land, it stops the developers from developing. That kind of strategic way of approaching these things I've learned that over these years of being on the council. Nothing straightforward. I was shocked when I found out that it was Somerset County Council who designated the A361 through Glastonbury as a national freight route. The county council did that, not the government. All those heavy lorries are coming through because the county council did that. Why did they do that? Because the quarries at Frome don't want to spend the extra bit of money to go down and around. The roads are already there that they could use. They're all A roads, but they'd rather go straight through our town because it saves them a bit of money. I have stood up at council many times and said it's really easy to fix this. You put a weight limit at Canard's Grave, you put another one down on the B&Q roundabout, 7.5 tonnes, no one comes through, end of story. That's 2 signs, don't cost a lot of money. Oh, no. If you want to stop this, we've got to put in a new bypass because those quarry roads are really important. put a new bypass in across the top of this town with 1,000 houses against it. Can you just imagine that? So Somerset Council are not on our side. They don't care about Glastonbury. Who would put a national freight route in the road that's on Chilcross Street? Who would do that? Somerset are not our friends. That bypass, the person pushing for it was a chap called James Heathy, our MP.
Yeah.
We said, this is in view of the tour, this is a sacred landscape. Could he care less? The government, the UK government, is not on your side. It's not on my side. It's not on Glastonbury's side. So we, as a council, are looking for ways that we might be able to protect this place. And one of the ways that we've chosen is look at doing a neighbourhood plan, which identifies areas of land that you can say, here's where the development could happen to stop the developers developing everywhere. The second thing we thought was, is there any merit in going back to the World Heritage Status? It was started in 2006. Is there any merit going back to that and seeing if that will help protect this land? It's an international treaty signed by every government in the world. That international treaty is about protecting the things that are special about a place in perpetuity on behalf of the whole human race. It's not about putting forward an agenda that makes everything homogenous. What it is when you go forward to World Heritage Status, and this is what we've learned through going to consultation with consultants who know what they're talking about, is you list the things that are special. I can tell you what I think is special about Glastonbury. It's the heart of the world. It's the heart of the world. It's the most sacred earth in England, as they said years ago. It is the most important place on the planet. And I don't want to see this government, Somerset Council, the developers, the quarry, whoever they are, coming in here and destroying it. Those are real threats. Those are real things that are happening. They're not things that might happen because we get World Heritage Status. These are real things that are happening now. Thank you very much.
There's some seats down the front here. There are a few seats around if you look around, if you come down through. If you've got a spare seat next to you, if you put your hand up, and then everyone can get comfortable. There's some spare seats at the front as well.
So my name's Mike Jones. I'm the publisher of the Oracle, and I've been involved in community organisations and a charity for the last 35 years or so. Basically, from my point of view, World Heritage Status is an invitation for mass tourism.
Have you got a microphone there?
So yes, I think World Heritage Status is a label that invites coach companies to organise tours to go to places. So by example, Delphi is a place that I've been to over the last 20 years. 20 years ago when I first went there was almost no one at Delphi and you could just wander around the ruins. If you go to Delphi now, the coaches start arriving at 9 o'clock and they don't stop till 12 o'clock. And they're just dropping off people who just wander around the ruins, and there's a little narrow track. You can't go many places. You have to go along a little path, and then away again. So the reality for me in our today's world is that the commercialism has won out, and that if you label something World Heritage Status, that will invite people to travel there for tourist purposes. And I just don't think we need it in this town. We don't need hundreds of thousands of extra people. We don't need all these coaches. When we're talking about the roads, do we need all these coaches, extra coaches coming? How are people going to get up the Tor? The Tor is a very narrow pathway. I mean, amazingly, it's never changed. The back one is just those little steps going up. What happens when there's hundreds and hundreds of people trying to go up and down? What kind of investment is needed on the Tor to change it to allow hundreds and thousands of people to go up and down? Likewise, everywhere else, where are you going to put the car parks? Do you need to build a nice big car park up the Tor? Part of the thing, it seems to me, to invite the bypass going around the back, because somehow people have got to access the Tor if that's being sold as World Heritage Status. So I applaud John and Serena for their desire. I completely believe in what they, that they believe in what they believe. I might not agree with everything they believe, but I know that they're sincere in trying to find a solution for what they want. But to me, this is simply not the solution at all. And it will create a change in Glastonbury that we will just profoundly regret, that will impact hugely on all residents, will impact hugely on all businesses, and it will just create a change that none of us want. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Short and sweet, I appreciate it. My name's Loka Bandhu. I'm a fellow town councillor with John, maybe the baby of the pack. I've been a town councillor 2.5 years, still kind of learning the ropes, but I do have the honour of being mayor of Glastonbury this year. I'm also relatively new to Glastonbury compared to Serena, about 17 years I think it is, and counting.
Use the microphone.
Oh, you can't hear me? This isn't working anyway.
Just speak up, that's all.
Hello, hello?
Just speak up, I'm not sure if it's on the microphone, just speak up.
Alright.
All right, if you can't hear me, please just wave, and I'll talk a bit louder. So my name is Loka Bandhu, and if you still can't hear, there's a couple of seats down the front. My name's Loka Bandhu, fellow town councillor with John. I have the honour of being Glastonbury's mayor this year. Relative newcomer to Glastonbury, been here about 17 years, and I think, like all of us, I love Glastonbury. I believe Glastonbury is super special, and I want to keep it that way. I'm also really pleased that there's so many people engaged in this debate. I've sat through so many town council meetings, all open to the public, where there's been precisely nobody in our public seats. So at least here we are today debating this. That's fantastic. So to cut to the chase, my position on this is that it's way too soon to be definitively in favour of us becoming a World Heritage Site. What I am in favour of, what I'm really happy to argue for, is that we explore the possibility. I also think it's way too soon to rule it out and kind of stop the initiative. So I would love us to explore the possibility, and then at some point down the road, there'll be a decision. Then whether or not we succeed is a whole other question, which won't be up to us, it'll be up to others. It's very, already, lots of people have raised lots of objections to World Heritage, and if they all came true, it would clearly be a disaster. I completely agree. Traffic, tourism, overdevelopment, coaches, blah, blah, blah. But I think you don't get to be a World Heritage Site without thinking through all the issues connected with it very carefully, and coming up with plans to preserve what makes the place special. I would agree there's plenty of examples, historically, where things have become World Heritage and they have actually got it wrong, and the town or the townspeople have suffered, even though the ruins or the castle or whatever it is has been preserved. So we don't want the abbey to be preserved and the town suffered. But I do think the whole process has learned from its mistakes. So the question is, why do I think it's worth pursuing? And for me, the whole thing comes under the umbrella, the heading, if you like, of our motto. Glastonbury's motto is, "May Glastonbury flourish." Hopefully that's all something we agree on, and I certainly want Glastonbury to flourish. It begs the question, what's it mean to flourish? And for me, I've heard different angles on that as the debate's gone along. For me, flourishing has to include an economic development. Glastonbury is super special, it's also spiritual, but it's also genuinely economically deprived, certainly bits of it. That's the reason we got such a generous town deal award of 2.3 million a few years ago to develop the
23
town.
million.
23.
Sorry, 23 million, 23.4 million, 23.4 million. Because on all those indicators of economic deprivation, we score super high. We just do. So the question then arises, what could our economic prosperity be built on? Every town needs something, and I think ours is always going to be visitors. I mean, historically, when the Abbey was thriving, it was visitors in the shape of pilgrims. That all died away for centuries, and Glastonbury languished. It was a total nowhere place. Visitors have come back, and we're flourishing once again. So for me, I can't see any other source of our prosperity than visitors. So then what we need to do is learn to, quote, manage our visitors really well so they genuinely contribute to our prosperity. I totally agree, visitors come in all shapes and sizes, from the coachloads of mass tourists Mike talks about, to genuine spiritual pilgrims. I would much rather have the genuine spiritual pilgrims. I'm happy with a bit of both, as long as they contribute to our prosperity. Yes. I think to do that, we need to do a lot of investigation. There's been calls for an impact assessment, which I completely agree with, which will look into it. One thing I've become aware of since becoming a town councillor is how little power the town council has. We are genuinely the bottom rung of the whole edifice of administration of this country. Above us, as John was saying, there's Somerset, and above Somerset there's Parliament, and frankly they control most of what matters. My feeling is that what we, the town council or the people, need, if we're going to shape our future, is what I would call allies. We need to get the county council, Somerset and the British government actively on our side so they can pass the necessary laws to shape our traffic, our parking, our accommodation, our Airbnbs, etc., which Glastonbury Town Council cannot do. So interesting, my colleague John said Somerset and the British government are not on our side. That may have been the case previously. My feeling is that part of World Heritage would be them recognising just how special Glastonbury is and coming on board on our side. That's my hope. I am an optimist, I happily accept that, but I think we would be cultivating them as allies in order to shape the future we want. Yes, so that's my first reason for us pursuing World Heritage as a possibility. The second question is, I want Glastonbury to flourish. The second reason is I want Glastonbury to flourish kind of indefinitely into the future. So it's very clear to me, going out and about, that we have a worldwide reputation for being a spiritual place. That's fantastic. You can go anywhere and everybody has heard of Glastonbury as a spiritual place. My feeling, and this may be a bit controversial, we'll find out, is that that reputation is somewhat fragile. We've even got a bit of a reputation as a bit of a spiritual Disneyland, where all sorts of stuff happens, but a lot of it is not taken very seriously by the wider world. It's, I'm not going to name any names of what happens, because they're probably right here in the audience, I don't know. Anyway, I think our reputation is a bit more fragile than we might like, and I'm anxious that our popularity and reputation might kind of turn, which becomes seen as a joke rather than the heart chakra of the planet. If that happens, our visitors, including our spiritual pilgrims, will kind of go elsewhere, and I would hate that to happen. I think Serena was telling me when she first came to Glastonbury, very few people visited. The Christian pilgrimage is a shadow of its former self. The Goddess Conference has been through ups and downs. I think it's on up at the moment, but it has struggled. I think nothing is guaranteed, but I think if we pursue World Heritage and we achieve it, it'll kind of be an endorsement, and you may or not think this is valuable, an endorsement that there genuinely is something of outstanding universal value about Glastonbury, above and beyond all the different things you can buy and enjoy on the high street. So I believe there's something of outstanding and enduring universal value about Glastonbury, and I think World Heritage status would kind of cement that in the minds of enough people to be our visitors and our prosperity going forwards. So that would be good for me, because it would help us flourish into the future. Yes. So just to conclude, I think it's way premature to vote in favour of becoming a World Heritage Site. I also think it's way too premature to knock the initiative on the head. What I would love us to do Serena, enjoy planting your yellow rattle seeds. Congratulations.
Yay, nature reserve.
Congratulations on establishing Bride's Mound as a nature reserve. I genuinely believe we should be pursuing it, and along the way, pursuing how to address the different issues we already face of traffic, accommodation, parking, and so on, and how to make it all work for us rather than undermine us. Yes, very lastly, I was reading the Oracle last night, and there's a fantastic article in there from a woman I don't know, she may be here, Safira, advocating that we, rather than World Heritage, we learn how to celebrate what we do so well, and all the different practitioners and therapists and spiritual people just learn how to celebrate and promote what we do so well. I thought that was a great article, and I'd love us to do that as well. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chris Cray. I arrived in Glastonbury 40 years ago. I was with the convoy, and we'd been evicted from Molesworth, and I ended up sort of on Greenland's farm, with Alison kindly giving us people in buses, which were all homeless, being trapped in the bean field, hospitality. And Glastonbury has been really, really good to me, because it's given me a home and a base, and it's allowed my own spiritual practices to flower. And I've really felt that Glastonbury's given me so much, and I'm trying to give back by kind of being involved in local organisations like the U3A, which is the umbrella under which this is happening. So that's something loads of people don't know about, but the U3A is the idea is we make learning a lifetime process. So when people get to 55, they can join your U3A, and there's all these classes that you can join at very little cost, and you can carry on learning new skills or doing sports or whatever it is, and it's a way of continuing your education and also engaging with people as you get older. So do think about joining that. I'm also very involved in the Margaret and Mary Chapel down on Magdalen Street, but I'm not here on an official capacity. I'm here on a personal one. So I'm in a situation of really heartily agreeing with what Serena, John, and Lochabandu have as aspirations, but I think that it's incredibly misguided to feel that kind of going for World Heritage status could further that end. Now, I've been working at the St Margaret's Chapel now for 10 years. Now, that was reordered 12 years ago. In the first year, we had 3,000 visitors. And every year, the number of visitors got up. This year, we have 30,000 visitors. So that shows that, when you have a sacred space that's free to get into, people will come in their droves to enjoy it. And we get tourists in there, we get pilgrims in there. But every day, loads of people go in there and they meditate and they pray or do whatever they do. And that kind of has created a really beautiful atmosphere there. And all the people who work there work as volunteers, which in a way kind of shows the nature of this Glastonbury, which is should be a centre of love, which is where we're actually giving rather than seeing what we can get from the situation. Now, I feel that the World Heritage Site idea, that what we should look at is what effect it's had on other places which have achieved it. And I think there's not been a single case I've heard of a World Heritage Site which hasn't sort of led to influx of loads of tourists, that's led to house prices going up exponentially, the expansion of Airbnbs so that local people can no longer find accommodation. And I know some really, really good people in Glastonbury who've been here for years and years and years and given and given and given to this community who are virtually homeless or, being threatened with homelessness because it's virtually impossible to find rented accommodation. So surely the council should be exploring how we start building social housing rather than investing money in some sort of what I think is a misguided attempt to protect the place, because if you protect the place by institutionalising it, then you actually undermine what this place is about, which is actually quite anarchic. Because got people out there selling water by the riverside. But the river is free, and it's open, and it's available to everybody. And I think if we turn this place into a World Heritage Site, it's just going to encourage the commercialisation of it. Secondly, if what I've heard people say is if we get to go for World Heritage Site, then it could more or less create a 50% to 100% increase in tourism. So where are all these people going to stay? It means more hotels. Where are the traffic? Where's the traffic going to go? That means more roads. So actually, the actual attempt to kind of go for World Heritage Site, for me, it undermines the aims of the people who are actually arguing for it, because it would actually have the opposite effect of what they want. And I think that if you look out throughout history, you can see loads and loads of times when people have had really, really good intentions, and the good intentions have led to disastrous effects, because they don't actually look at the zeitgeist, the spirit of the age. And let's look at it, the world's religion is mammon. That is the religion that the world is running under. The control of money is destroying the planet.
Yes.
Do we want Glastonbury to be another temple for mammon?
No.
Do we want Glastonbury to be a place where, we're encouraging people to sell water by the riverside? What we want is for people to come to Glastonbury and experience something better than what they've come from, so that when they go away, they think there's another possibility. It's to live in love and trust. So we have to have some sort of trust in the energy of Glastonbury, that it's a good place, that it's going to look after itself, and we're going to also be custodians of it. We don't need to go to some big institution and ask them to protect us. We can protect ourselves, thank you very much. So I'm going to sort of stop raving on now. And there's a chance for people to have a tea break. I can think of thousands more things to say, but I'm going to refrain for the sake of your patience. And but if you want to go round the back, there's tea and coffee available, there's loos there, and then it's a good chance for everyone to circulate. And what I suggest is at about 5 or 10 to 11, we come back into the hall, and then we'll have a nice discussion. Anybody who's got a point of view they want to express, we'll go around and give them a chance, and then we'll have to wrap this up, I think, about 11:30, 12, for a little bit of chance for people to just have a show of hands, whether they, because I don't think it's really been mentioned that the actual process of applying for World Heritage Site isn't a financially neutral one. It will involve, getting specialists in who do the research and know the ropes of actually applying for it. So it's almost like a path that once I feel we go a certain distance on, we might actually be stuck on a path even if it's not what we want.